What is going on, guys? Nathan here with a video where I basically want to talk about the game Magic the Gathering, which is a card game much like the old-fashioned card games I used to play in my childhood, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon and all that stuff. It's a game very similar to that that I actually got into a couple of weeks ago. I was introduced it, grammar and stuff, by my friends, and I took an interest. And the main reason I was interested in the game is just because of its sheer variety and how you can build a deck exactly around what you want. For example, there are obviously 5 different colors. So those 5 colors kind of represent characteristics. So like red, you do like direct damage. Blue is a lot of like control in the game, controlling the other player's movements. Versus green decks is mostly just kind of creatures, like you buff up your creatures, and it's a lot of aggro. Let's see, white just has a lot of tokens and healing and all that kind of stuff. So you can actually combine these decks and customize it in a way that you want, and that's what I really found pretty interesting about this game. And what surprised me actually was that as soon as I actually got my hands on some cards, because I did order an intro deck, or not an intro deck, but like the M50 or the 2015 introduction set with, I think it was like 2 pre-made decks and some packs. And then I ordered like at the same time as this set. It was a deal off of Amazon for like $8. It was like 100 uncommons and rares. So I ordered that, and then I also got some card cases, as you can see right there. We just have some plain black case, nothing special. It'll definitely work, but I like that kind of, I don't know, plain style of card case. So anyway, I ordered that, and what I found was that once I got my hands on these cards, I don't know, I was semi obsessed with it. I've watched a lot of Spell Slingers since then, and I don't know, it brings back something from my childhood about collecting like Yu-Gi-Oh cards and Pokemon cards. There's something about this. It's just like, I don't know. It's really hard to describe, but it's like it's kind of like grinding away in a video game and like leveling up, and like knowing that with each level or card that you get, you're getting a little bit stronger and a little bit stronger and a little bit more stronger. So I don't know. It was kind of cool, but like I said, I really like the customization that is allowed in this game. And I wanted to show you the 2 main decks that I have right now, and then kind of how I set them up. And this is from a beginner standpoint, an extreme beginner standpoint, because I've only dueled like 3 times, and it was kind of, 2 of them were kind of like half-hearted duels against a friend because we only had like 20 minutes to blow. So we never actually finished those games. Also, Sophie, let's see. I wanted to showcase my cat here. Move the camera a little bit. Look at the kitty. All right. Anyway, back to business. Up, it's falling. Okay, there we go. All right, so my main deck that I'm using right now is a green-white deck, and I will actually just start by separating these into these sort of sections as to how I built them. So it is more, it's a tiny bit more green than it is white, but we'll get to that in just a second. I'm going to keep separating these. And I would recommend watching this in HD because there's a lot of little text on these cards, and it's really hard to see. I'm not going to lie, but I'll try to showcase these to the camera up close when I can. Otherwise, don't worry about actually looking at the cards for now. That'll be more for when I'm showing off some mythics and rares that I have. So here's how I built the deck. Okay, so I don't know if it's the recommended number, but the minimum number of cards in the deck that you can have in Magic is 60. And I prefer to actually hang around that mark. Maybe go up to like 65-ish, depending on if I have some really good cards that I don't want to give up. But I prefer to stay around the 60 number because it's very efficient in that. So the more cards you have, for example, the harder it is to draw a really good card you have. For example, if I wanted to draw Palaka Worm, which is really not a good strategy anyway, to actually try to draw a certain card. I mean, there's strategies around that in blue decks, but whatever. But anyway, if I have this stack, let's say, of really good cards, really good monsters that I want to draw, there's more chance of drawing these monsters when I have 60 cards in my deck rather than like 70 or 80, for example, just because it's less of a percentage of a chance. And I kind of took that into account when I started to build these decks. So what I did was I kind of kept the land number. I just set the land number at 20, just off of, or I'm sorry, well 20 but 10 of each, because I wanted about half green, half blue. And so that would put my land at the number 20. So that would leave me 40 cards to customize. So if we split that into two, that's 20 white cards that I can make, and then 20 green cards that I can choose. Wait, yeah, 20 land, 20 white, 20 green. Okay, so then you split that up again into 10 sorceries, instants, and enchantments of a certain color, and then 10 creatures of a different color. So that's what I did. So we're going to ignore these artifacts for now, but basically what I did is I took the creatures that I have and I divided them into mana costs. So anything 5 or above labeled, I kind of labeled late game, and I put those in a certain pile, and then I put early game cards in a certain pile. And these are all of the creatures together. But so here, let me pick these out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I have 4 late game cards, I'll call them. These 4. And then I have 4 early game cards, which are a lower mana cost, which will allow me to actually succeed in the lower game. And I'll just run through the cards. So I have Sarah Angel. It's a 4/4 for 5. Maze Sentinel, which is a 3/6 for 6. Actually, we'll go like that. Maze Sentinel, in case you want to pause the video. It's actually kind of hard to like maneuver with the camera. And this is, please autofocus. There we go. Okay, so we got 3, 6, 4, 5. This is still late game cards. A 4, 6 for 7. And I'm not listing off the abilities just because it would take forever. This is my favorite white card, Aegis Angel, 5/5 for 6, and it makes something indestructible that is crazy. And then we get into early game cards. So this is a 2/2 for 4, but I think the ability. Oh, Sophie, go away. Sophie, go away. Go away. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So we've got more early cards. Early cards. Okay. So that puts me at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 creatures. So then, let's see, move on to the white instants and spells. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. So I've got 5 castables, I'll call them, and then, what did I say, 8 creatures. So that puts me at 13 white, which left me a little bit more room for green, which is what I wanted to do. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I had 13 white, so that leaves me a little bit of extra room for green cards. So as you can see here, this is my green creature section. This is actually quite extensive. Oh my gosh, my cat is looking at, there we go. Okay, so these are my green cards, and there's a lot of late game green cards in here, I'm not gonna lie. So this I ordered, this was an individual card that I ordered. It is called Gaia's Revenge. It is a 8/5 for 7, and it cannot be countered, it has haste, and it can't be the target of non-green spells, stuff like that. I ordered this one. This is Dungrove Elder, and feel free to Google these if you can't see the actual thing for whatever reason. It is let's see, the power and toughness are equal to the number of force you control for 3 mana. So that's pretty cool. If you manage to draw that late game, you'll definitely have a really powerful card there. I've got 2 Elvish Mystics, which is purely for mana ramp, so I can actually have more mana. And then this card, which I can't believe is labeled a common. I really like this card. Undergrowth Scavenger. It enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it, equal to the number of creature cards in all graveyards. So if you manage to draw this late game, which it actually has a 4 mana cost, which is relatively cheap for a potentially huge creature like this one, it would, like, if you manage to draw it late game and there are even, let's say, 5 creature cards in the graveyard, that's a 5/5 for a 4 mana cost, which I think is pretty amazing. We've got Mages of the Vineyard, which is a rare, just for more mana ramp. I've got 1 foil in my entire card set, which is Renegade of Crassus. It's okay. I don't think it's worth a foil personally. And this is one I ordered as well, my Mythic. This is Tree of Redemption. It is a defender, and it has 0-13 for a 4 mana cost. So I will definitely always be hoping to draw this card all of the time. And then if I am low on health, or happen to be late game, then I can tap this and exchange my life total with the toughness of this creature, which is basic, kind of sacking the creature in a way, but definitely it's more valuable to stay alive in the game than to keep creatures on the battlefield. So those are my creatures, and then my, like, that's kind of the main emphasis of this deck. It's a lot of aggro, and it's a lot of emphasis on green creatures, which that's kind of the style of green decks in general, is to just put out a lot of creatures. Alright, so we've got Market Festival for mana ramp, Spider Spawning, so some 1/2 tokens out on the field, can't hurt anybody. I've got 2 Titanic Growths, soon to be replaced by 2 Giant Growths. Basically, I figured Giant's Growth is just straight up more efficient because these, for a 2 mana cost, they give +4/+4, and Giant's Growth gives a +3/+3 for a 1 mana cost. So I think Giant's Growth is way more efficient, and I've ordered, I think, 4 of those, I want to say, just because I love that card so much. So hopefully these will be swapped out for those soon. I ordered Hurricane, which is a sorcery, and it deals X damage to each creature with flying and each player. So I can spend any amount of mana on that. Basically, that'll be useful for if I happen to be at a higher health than my opponent and I want to kind of end the game or make sure that the game is ending soon, or just straight up end the game, I don't know, just by using that card. And then I also ordered this card. It's a rather old card, Sky Shroud Claim, for mana ramp. So for 4 mana, I was kind of hesitant on adding this to my deck because it is a 4 mana cost, but basically I get to search my library for 2 forest cards and put them into play. So I spend 4 mana for a turn to get 2 land on the same turn, or also next turn, because you place them right away. Anyway, so with those cards, I then kind of balanced out my land, and I said, how much land do I really want? So I think I have a little bit. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 plains. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 forests. So this gives me a total of 60 cards with a slight emphasis on green. White is there kind of to just support me, and also I think I have some decent, or more early game white cards than I do green cards. So that's just kind of my strategy for my main deck. And then we have my 3 artifacts. So this is a 0 cost. It is a 0/2. So this is good just to basically chump block because I can cast it for free, and it is flying. So I don't know what that's worth, but let's see. Darksteel Axe is a 1 cost. It's indestructible, and I can put this on a creature, so the creature has +2, 0. So that's pretty cool. But I have to equip this card to a creature for 2 mana, which is okay, depending on how much mana I really have on the field. And then this is just an 06 Defender. I figured this is just pretty good because it's only a 3 of any color mana cost for an 06. And I like Defenders, so I figured that was definitely worth it. But that is my main white-green deck. It's a lot of aggro. There's some healing in there. and there's a lot of not a lot, but decent, very decent defenders. For example, this Tree of Redemption is just such a good card. I wish I actually would have ordered more of these because it's so good. And I think I actually might after this video, just because I love that card so much. All right, so I'm actually going to put this back here. And then I also formulated, no, that wouldn't really make sense. I also made a blue-red deck whenever I face a fellow blue deck, because I and a lot of my friends absolutely hate blue decks because they're so douchey. They're beatable, but they're douchey. So in response, I just wanted to fight fire with fire, so to speak, and create a blue-red deck myself. But before I show that, I actually wanted to show this cool little card I actually got that, let's see, one second. I do have, oh, here we go. I do have everything sorted out, but it still takes a little bit to just find certain cards. So I got this card. I think this was from my $8, my $8 like uncommon rare order from Amazon. I've been told, or actually I looked it up on Google, this card is worth $10 in itself, Sacred Foundry, and it's basically a land that you can get, let me see, you get to add just a regular red or white mana to your mana pool. So I don't know why this is so valuable. It seems like an okay-ish card to me. Let's get that to focus. Get that to focus. There we go. So I don't know. I guess this card is worth a lot, but I don't know. I don't see why it's that valuable. But let's see here. Let's go back. Put this away. I do have a couple double cards like these. I haven't included them though because I don't feel like they're very worth. They're very situational, so I just haven't really felt like including them. I do have some double or multicolored creatures as well that I haven't really included, mostly because they don't really match up with the colors that I have. It's mostly this is not. This is a multicolored creature, but that's not in the right section that I was looking in. Anyway, I haven't really used my multicolored creatures, mostly because their colors don't really line up with the colors of the decks that I have. But we'll put that aside once again. So this is my blue-red deck. Let me separate it in the same style that I did before. So we've got some blue creatures here. And this is just about even in terms of blue versus red. I figured... maybe it has a little bit more blue than red. Actually, no, red looks really solid as I'm holding these in my hand. All right, so we've got red creatures, red enchants, sorceries, and instants. And then we've got blue land, and then red mountains. So I've been looking... Well, I haven't been actively looking, but I think it would be nice if I had more regular land. I think it usually costs some mana to place, but I want more like special lands that actually allow me to do something. Let's see. All right, so for my blue creatures, it's a lot of flying, just like classic blue, but it was I formed the deck in the same style as my green-white deck. So I've got some early game creatures here. I don't know. I'll just go through them. Let's see. What is this? Aeronaut, Tinkerer, bleh, Nightborn, Triton, Ohm Speaker, Morning Phantom. I like this card because it's a 2-cost defender card that's 0-5. So I figured that was actually pretty decent. I don't know. I just really like defender cards. Frost Lynx, which is a 2/2 for 3. Ohm Speaker. All right, and then these are the larger mana cost cards. Capsho Kite Fins is a 3/3 for 5. And then whenever another creature enters the battlefield, I get to tap a target creature. So that I figured that was useful. I have 2 Scab Goliaths. And the reason for that is I think it's that like this card just needed some extra aggro, to be honest, just some bigger numbers, and I can cast it for 6, but it's a 6/9, which is pretty huge. And as an additional cast, I exile 2 creatures from my graveyard, which I figured isn't really that big of a deal. But, yeah. So 2 Scab Goliaths. Murder a Crows, which is a 4/4 for 5. And then when another creature dies, I may draw a card. So I figured, well, actually, I draw a card and then discard a card. So I figured this was just kind of a good loot card. You know, you can't really have too much drawing. And if I don't like the card, I can just discard it. So looked like a decent card to me. And then we have Aetherling, which is a 4/5 for 6. So kind of a high cost for what it has. But I like the effects. You can just do a lot of stuff with that card. This one I think I got in my $8 Amazon deal. It is a 5/6 for 6, which is actually decent by itself. And then it is also flying. So, I don't know. I just kind of like that. Let's see. And then we're back to Aeronaut Tinker. So, decent creatures for blue. I don't think they're as powerful, really, as my green. But if I happen to play somebody who doesn't have a lot of defense against flying, that would be a good set of creatures to have. Alright, so then for my stuff I have, it's kind of the classic blue, to be honest. There's really nothing special. So, like, creatures I control have flying. A lot of them do anyway, so I kept that in there just because it could be useful. Return cards to hand. Pinned to the Earth, which is a classic blue card. Enchanted creature gets -6, -0, so they basically don't do any damage. Draw 2 cards. Let's see. Counterspell, 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 counter target creature. Return to hand. Alright, and that's pretty much it. So kind of a classic blue spell setup. And then we get into red. My red is pretty typical in terms of my spells. My creatures are nothing special, to be honest. Scourge of Gaia Reach, which is a 3/3 for 5. And I get a +1/+1 for each creature my opponents control. So that might be good for facing an aggro deck. Let's see. I really should have manual focus on, but whatever. So this is Mindclaw Shaman, a 2/2 for 5. And let's see, it keeps... Oh man, I gotta keep this in frame. You may cast an instant or sorcery. Yeah, so you get to basically cast an opponent's instant or sorcery for free. That is pretty freaking cool. And I love Rage Thrower. So just whenever a creature dies, excuse me, whenever another creature dies, you just straight up get to deal damage to a player. That's pretty cool. So I have 2 of these in here. Pretty classic red, just dealing straight damage. And then we get into the high cost cards. So this is for 6 mana. This is a 5/5 for 6 with flying. And basically, if I pay a mana, it's a 6/5. So, pretty standard dragon, I think. A 6/5 for 6. Really like that. That's pretty efficient. Oracle of Bones has haste and a tribute 2 for 4. So, it's a 3/1. So, if my opponent doesn't pay this tribute, I get a 5/1 with haste for 4 mana. So, I figured that's pretty decent, pretty worth it. I can't really go wrong with it, I guess, but then we have a Wall of Fire, just a 0/5 for 3, so kind of a standard red wall. Borderland Marauder is pretty much a 3/2 for 2, so I figure that's decently efficient. It's just whenever it attacks, it gets +2/+0. So I figured, you know, it's only useful when it's attacking anyway, kind of. So I figured a 3/2 for 2 is pretty worth the 2 mana cost. I don't have many like uncommons or rares. I have 4. Oh well, actually 4 uncommons, 1 rare, 5 uncommons, 2 rare. Okay, so actually a decent amount of uncommons in that set. And this is pretty much classic red setup for my spell casting. So we've got, let's see, deal straight damage to creature or player, gain control of a creature. Oh my god, destroy into the Maw of Hell is destroy target land, and then I deal 13 damage to target creature. So pretty much just a straight up destruction of another creature. And then 2 lightning strikes. Lightning strikes is pretty classic, just dealing straight damage to a creature or player. Lava Axe is 5 damage to target player. Magma Spray, 2 damage to target creature for a 1 mana cost, so a pretty good little early game instant. And then I get to deal 2 damage to a target creature or player with a Scry 2 for a cost of 2. So I figured that was pretty efficient for what it gives. And then because of that, I formulated my land around this kind of setup. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 mountains. And if you'll recall my, let's see, I had 12 forests and 11 plains, I think. So a little bit less mountains than my main green-white deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11 islands. So 11 islands, 10 mountains. Just a tiny bit more emphasis on blue than red, but pretty much even. And then we have this multicolored creature. It is a, let's see. So this creature's power is equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. Oops. And it has a toughness of 3. So I figured that was pretty worth it too, for just being basically a 3 mana cost. That's actually like that's a potentially like 3/3 or 4/3 or even 5/3 for a 3 mana cost. So I can't really go wrong with that. Then we have this really old card, Mobile Fort. It's just I think it's an artifact creature, yeah. So it's just a wall, 06 for 4 mana. That's actually pretty worth it. Street Sweeper is another artifact creature. So it's a 4/6 for 6. So, and then I destroy all auras attached to a land if I happen to attack with this creature. But I figured a 4/6 for 6 isn't bad on its own. And that's just straight mana without any specific colors. And then we have Juggernaut, which is a 5/3 for 4. And this unfortunately attacks every turn if it's able to, and it can't be blocked by walls. But I figured a 5/3 for 4, that's pretty decent. But yeah, that's pretty much my artifacts and whatnot. So that's pretty much my experience with Magic so far. I don't know. There's something about this game that I don't know. I just really like it. I don't know how else to describe this game. But I really want to get into more duels and actually test these decks out, because a lot of Magic is actually getting used to like the decks that you have, and I haven't really been able to do that yet so far, because I've played with a deck that I thought was good, and then I modified it a little bit, and then I thought it was even better, and then I lost. And that's mostly with this green-white deck I'm talking about too. I haven't tried out the blue-red deck yet, but I just want to get better at the game. I'm still a huge newbie though, so yeah, that is my experience with Magic so far. Yeah, I think I have more cards coming actually in the mail at the moment, because I spent another like $30 on individual cards, and this intro set with all the cases and stuff was like $30 in itself. So I figured, you know, I'll throw some money at this game and try to get some decent cards. And like those 2 mythics that I have, I'm really excited about. Those are just, I love, is it Tree of Redemption? I don't know, I can't remember what that 013 card I'm so looking forward to. And yeah, so I think I'll wrap up the video here, guys. Thank you all for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe, and I will see you guys later. So have a nice day, and peace out.